Hey, everybody, welcome to That Expert Show, where you help run the show. I'm Anna Canzano. Thanks so much for joining us. I am so excited about this episode today. We are doing a different kind of interview. We'll be talking about acting and the entertainment industry and the arts with an actor who was born in Oregon. He's now playing Dollar Bill on Showtime's Billions. He was Pastor Tim on The Americans, and he's done work as well on and off Broadway at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. You might know him as a Trailblazers fanatic, and he's also the son of Oregon Congressman Les Aucoin. Joining us live from Brooklyn, New York, Kelly Aucoin. Kelly, thank you so much for being on That Expert Show.
Thank you for having me. Great to see you.
I love the beard. Is this like a quarantine beard?
This is my Corona beard, yes. I even had a poll online asking people what I should call it. Is it like lockdown whiskers? Is it COVID scruff or whatever? But we came up with Corona beard. So
Corona
we'll
beard.
Go with that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Tell me what the feel is right now in Brooklyn. I mean, you guys in New York are really at the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. Do things feel like they're peaking, or is life at all beginning to resume as normal?
No, it's not resuming as normal. But yeah, Brooklyn, the crazy thing about where we live specifically is that Brooklyn is the epicenter of the epicenter. Our neighborhood, our general vicinity, actually apparently had more cases than even Manhattan. It's hard to tell. You know, we're getting used to it to a certain extent. Yes, we're going stir crazy, but we're also getting used to it. So I suppose there's a feeling of normalcy that sort of creeps in subconsciously that might trick us into thinking that maybe we're past the peak, just because you're feeling kind of like, all right, I can do this. But it's hard. It's hard to know. It's getting warmer. People are going out to the parks a lot, which I know we all need exercise, but we're noticing that people are starting to not wear their masks as much, and then that's becoming problematic, because you go outside to get exercise and calm down. You don't want to go outside and exercise and be like, Jesus, people, come on. A little of my inner Dollar Bill starts to come out, my jaw juts, and it's just, oh.
Yeah, and we'll have to find out from you how much of Dollar Bill is actually in Kelly Aucoin. Like, how similar are the characters? Just watched
more than I thought, apparently.
More than you thought, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we just watched the latest episode last night. It's great to see the character develop. I think Dollar Bill is best known for the chicken episode, which oddly has some similarities and undertones with the coronavirus situation that we're dealing with now. For those who don't know, Billions is this phenomenal show that features just kind of the extremes of personality in the rich. What have you learned from being part of that production?
Here's my blatant promotion sweatshirt. I mean, in terms of finance, nothing. I got people who've been asking me from the beginning. It's like, hey, what do you think about? And I'm like, I literally don't know what you just said. We know in the moment what we're talking about. We've got plenty of people on set to make sure. I've had one of the showrunners one time when I said a line. Was like, Kelly, do you know what you just said? And I was like, yeah, of course, I'm a professional. He's like, no, you don't. See, this is what you mean. And so when we're on set, they make sure we know what we're saying. And that knowledge stays with me for about a day and a half. And then if you were to ask me even what I was talking about in the scene I shot 2 days ago, I wouldn't be able to tell you. So I'd venture to say 98% of the people watching this have more financial acumen than I do, sadly. Much to my dad's chagrin.
But you are working with such incredible performers. I mean, the Paul Giamattis of the world. And you do these scenes that, when they're cut together, are right next to each other. But how do you, as an actor, resist the temptation to go too large or overact when you're part of that cast?
I'm not familiar with the term too large. I'm sorry. No. I just think you get a sense of, I mean, look, the characters are outsized. They have outsized emotions and outsized moments and confrontations. And so big is good. The key is you can go as big as you want as long as you can be grounded in some sort of reality. And it can be a heightened reality, but it has to be a reality that we buy into. And it has to be specific, and it has to come from somewhere. And you have to, the worst thing is if I see a performance of mine, if I see the hint of what's about to come before the spark should actually naturally lead to that moment or that explosion. So the key is listening ferociously to the person opposite you. So even if you've heard it 15 or 50 times, you still respond as if you heard it for the first time. And whatever kind of outsized thing comes out of you, as long as it's real, as long as it's grounded, then you're going to buy it. Then it's fine. It's workable. It's usable.
I've never thought about that. I guess such a big part of acting that makes sense, and really just dialogue in general, is being a ferocious listener to the person that you're speaking with, to be able to react to that in an authentic way. And even if it's been rehearsed so many times, that has to be something that you have learned along the way. Was there a point in your career where that was a breakthrough, or was that something that came as a result of studying theater at Oberlin, where you went to school?
I think I do remember at Oberlin, one of my acting classes where I was so proud of myself because I knew exactly what I was going to do at every moment in the scene I was working on. And I couldn't understand why everyone was yawning. And the professor finally sort of made me understand that it's great to plan, but then you got to let go of all the planning, because, and any acting student probably is going to roll their eyes hearing me say this, but acting is at least 90% listening. And if you are really truly listening in the moment, then you can find something to react to. And then that reaction becomes your acting, if that makes sense. And it's more fun that way. And theater can become stale because you have performance after performance after performance. TV and film can become stale because you have take after take after take after take. Both have their advantages and their disadvantages. But the thing that the danger and the trap is that you start to or you stop listening. But if you practice listening as hard as you can, ferociously, then you're going to be pretty safe. Something's going to come out that's real, and then the director and your scene partner and you can hone what that response is going to be to make it to give it different colors. But it's going to be real.
I guess that's what I've wondered too. Like when you go to see a long-running Broadway show, or you see a show that is touring, and they're just doing performance after performance, or even musical artists who are performing the same songs ad nauseum for decades. It's like, where are they reaching into to pull out the juice, to bring it and make it fresh and new? Being on the set of Billions, is there an actual sense of camaraderie with the folks that you are working with, both on camera and off? And how often are you guys actually all together in a scene?
Well, it's different set to set, but the Axe Cap set, we are, whenever we're on, I'd say I'm on set, I average maybe twice a week. So 2 out of the 5 days a week. Sometimes it's 5 days and 4, and sometimes it's nothing. But if I'm going to be on set, in general, you're going to see Bonnie, you're going to see, Mafee, you're going to see Ben Kim, and you're going to see Tuck and Ari Spiros. You're going to see those people, even if they're just in the background. I mean, there have been plenty of days when I've been there because it's a scene between Ari Spiros and Axe in his office, but it's a glass wall, so I'm in the background at my desk. So there's a lot of time when you're on camera, but it's still sort of downtime. There's a lot of opportunity over 5 years. There's been a lot of opportunity to get to know each other, and it really has become a huge family. A lot of the crew has been with us from the beginning. A lot of the background actors have been, not everyone. I think there are 5 background actors who have been with us since the very beginning. And there are a number who have been there for 3+ seasons. And it really does become a family. The last day I was, this is going to sound odd to say it this way, but I was lucky to be on set the last day before we shut down because of the pandemic. And I say lucky because I was able to. I mean, look, we don't know when we're going to be back to work. We know we will eventually, but we don't know when. And it was really moving to me to be able to be there with with at least a good chunk of my Billions family, and we were still elbow hugging then, and to be able to wish everyone well and look them in the eye. And it's a great group of humans. We spent a lot of time together. I've got multiple text threads of us trying to make each other laugh and finding out if we're all okay. We have a couple people who are alone and a little bit older, can't go grocery shopping. We're helping. Anyway, yes, the shorter answer is yes, there's a lot of camaraderie. And I think that shows with some of these more difficult scenes too. There's a lot of trust, and we all love making each other laugh. It's one of the most hilarious groups I've ever worked with. There are no divas. Damian Lewis could be a diva if he wanted to be, if anyone's earned the right. And he's not. He's funny. He's a great leader, but he's a great ensemble member at the same time, which can be a difficult balance to strike, but he does. So it's a really group. I have a lot of love for these people.
Can we talk about the entertainment industry right now as it stands? Because obviously, Netflix and Showtime and all of these entities are still churning out new content, but these are productions that were shot months and months ago and have been in the editing process. They're coming to fruition and airing now. At what point are we going to run out of new content if the entertainment industry doesn't pick back up again? And are you seeing any signs that it is picking back up again?
I mean, I'm sort of isolated, not being produced. The producers are the ones who are in talks with, for instance, Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio. I know that the producers on our show are all in contact with them, and so they will have more information than we have. I know no one's going back to work before July. I don't know beyond that. I know that one of the things that everyone wants to make sure is that when we go back, we don't have to shut down again. We don't want, and New York's in a somewhat tough position because we have a lot of content that's filming here, a lot of productions that are based here. That wasn't the case 15 years ago. So this is a wonderful new thing for all of us theater actors who came to New York, because it's like, we'll do TV, but we want to focus on, we want to focus on theater. So the worst thing I can imagine is if we went back too early and had to shut down again, and production companies and networks would just be like, you know what, New York's too difficult. Let's move somewhere else. So it's hard. We want to get everyone back to work. They want to get everyone back to work because there are people who are going to start hurting pretty soon. But you can't. You have to think about the future. You have to take it slow.
Can you give us a sense of when the next season of Billions would have theoretically begun to shoot? Was that within your timeline for the year?
I never know exactly when we're going to start shooting, but so it seemed as if we were on the schedule where we would start up in November. For a while, a couple seasons. First two seasons, I think we started in June and July. Then we started in September twice, and this year we started in November. So either we were following a pattern of moving it back 2 months each year, or maybe we were going to do another November. So it's hard to say, but probably we would have started, I'd say, in 1st of November or 1st of January, something like that.
All right.
And now we had finished shooting. We had 7 episodes in the can. My understanding is we are airing those 7 episodes. We had just dipped our toe into shooting episode 8 of 12. The seasons are always 12 episodes. We still plan on, again, from what I understand, we still plan on finishing the season with those episodes. It'll just be a season that is in 2 parts, like the final Mad Men. Mm-hmm. So we will have a full season 5. It'll just be with a long break. And then I don't know. I just don't know when that will fall. I don't know if that will affect when we bring back the new season, which was early May this year. So I have a lot of I don't knows, unfortunately.
When you're in a role like that, that is, obviously part of such a popular show, help me understand the life of an actor. Are you still auditioning right now for other roles? Do you submit auditions in these circumstances online? Like, do you film the audition at home, or is that just not even something that you're entertaining right now?
Well, interestingly enough, self-tapes are becoming more the norm. So I much prefer being in a room with a casting director, even though you get many fewer takes. It's still there's I don't know. There's something about being at home, taping, and having my wife read it or something where I just feel sort of embarrassed. I feel like I'm playing make believe here or something, and I got to get over it because it is the wave of the future. I much prefer being in a casting room. It feels more like a set. It's not my home, and the casting directors theoretically know more about what what they're looking for, and they can guide you. In terms of auditioning, one of the great things about having the Americans and Billions be successful was that I get more straight offers than I used to. So hopefully that will continue. But that's certainly not across the board. And yes, I do audition. There's not much production right now. Everything's pretty much on hold. Not pretty much. Everything's on hold. But there are a couple things coming down the pike where I have some scripts that I'm looking at, and I have to make a decision because in the next week or two I'll have to put myself on tape. So I'll have to get over that, whatever it is, and just trust that my wife's not going to be mocking me as she reads lines with me.
Well, and what's interesting about that is that your wife, comes from the world of the arts. In fact, I think you said you met at Oberlin, and she's a dancer, but also has a degree in historical marine ecology.
Yeah, she's a historical marine ecologist and a modern dancer. Wow. that old saw.
That's like two ends of the spectrum. That is fascinating. We should be interviewing her as well.
Oh, totally. She is much more interesting than I am. She has more hyphens in her job title than anyone I've ever met. But one of the great things is she's been able to turn those two interests into something that a number of really pretty interesting, extraordinary things. She's on the board of a number of organizations that try to use art and performance and as a way to connect with people and bring science to people in a way that they hadn't necessarily that they wouldn't necessarily, where they wouldn't meet it necessarily in their everyday lives in a textbook. There's a project called Walking the Edge that's actually going on right now in a different form, but initially it was a very experiential thing. It involved walking the entire coastline of Manhattan and all of New York City, 500 plus miles, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, rain or shine, with a group of volunteers with this organization, Works on Water, plus anyone else who wanted to be involved. And along the way, there would be artistic interactions with the coastline. And, people forget we live in New York, but we are an island. We have as much coastline as just about any other state. It's anyway, stuff like that is really fascinating. And they're doing a more virtual version of it right now. But yeah, she's much more interesting than I am.
No, I love that. Anytime you can bring the arts into science and make it more able to understand for the general public, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your advice for, people who want to go into theater, whether they're high schoolers, whether they're college students, high schoolers thinking about studying theater. Would you advise that? Is that, if you could go back to Kelly Aucoin at 17 years old, would you make the same decision to go to an art school and study theater?
It certainly is. The one thing I would say is there are many more viable paths to this career, to a successful life and this career than most people will tell you. I was told, because I didn't go to grad school. And I was told by one person who was very influential. I was told, well, then you're never going to be an actor. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to him. It would have made things easier in a lot of ways. And I obviously don't know. There are things that I never experienced that grad school had to offer that I've recognized I could use, or it would have been it might have been beneficial. The connection that you get, the showcase that you get at the end for different agents around the country. Skills that I wish I had now. I have voice issues sometimes because I don't. I get a little raspy because I play a lot of angry characters, and I think I would have been. I would know already how to better take care of my voice if I'd gone to grad school. But the thing I knew about myself was that I was not responding well to classrooms anymore. And for me, I don't think I was wrong. The best path was to try to do it. That meant a long tortoise was beating me, path. I did have successes along the way. Oregon Shakespeare Festival happened at a great time. And theater in New York once I finally got here. But, that was probably when I finally started getting cast was probably my mid-30s, getting cast more regularly. TV has only been the past 7 or 8 years, at least. I mean, I was playing guest star roles, but regular TV stuff is only the past 7 or 8 years. Now, I wouldn't trade that because it's turned out well.
Yes.
But certainly in my early 30s, there were moments where I was like, why the bleep didn't I take the path that people told me? So my advice would be, think about it. Don't be afraid to go your own way. Some of the best actors I know are people who didn't go to grad school, but then conversely, some of the best did. So don't be afraid to go your own way, and don't be afraid to change course. I had another person who followed the same path about the same time as me, about 30, 31 years old. He did go to grad school, and it was absolutely the right thing for him. I didn't, and it was absolutely the right thing for me. We both are fine now, and we both are making our careers doing this, but there's just no set path. You gotta listen to your voice, but you can't don't let that voice be the one that is telling you the easiest path because you want the easiest path. Really try to be honest about what the right path is for you, and make sure you're challenging yourself. I did spend a little bit of time sitting around waiting for something to happen to me, and that just never works. Also, can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
My best piece of advice, I think, is something. There was an actor. Those of you who know the Oregon Shakespeare Festival's history, you might know an actor named Paul O'Connor. We called him Oak. Brilliant actor. When I was moving, I stopped through Ashland when I was moving to LA, I guess, which was a disaster the first time I was there. This is before I came to New York. And he told me, people are going to tell you to look him up. They're going to say, hey, call me. Hey, stop by. Do it every time. You're not going to want to most of the time. You're going to get nervous and you're going to feel like an a-hole. If 20 people tell you to do that, 18 of them are going to look at you like you're an a-hole when you show up. They'll be like, why are you here? But 2 of them will have meant it and something will happen. Okay. If you let those first 5 who look at you like an a-hole make you think you're an a-hole, then you're going to stop doing it and you'll never meet those 2 people. But you have to remember through all those 18 that they are the a-hole, not you. And he kept saying this word, and he didn't say a-hole, but it was actually the best. It took me a long time to actually follow through with that, to follow that advice to the extent I needed to. But every time I listened to that, to Oak's voice in my brain saying, I'm not the a-hole, it worked. And you'll find those people who will help you. And what help means will vary. but at least it'll be someone who is trying to give you advice, give you a leg up, maybe a role, maybe a meeting with somebody, but just do that. Listen to Oak. You're not the a-hole.
It's so funny though, because in that world of acting where you're auditioning all the time, whether it's for theater, whether it's for, TV, movie, whatnot, it's kind of like baseball, where it's like you're failing most of the time and you're succeeding only a small percentage of the time. So how in the world do you get through a really kind of depressing series of failures, sometimes for extended periods, to reach the point of success?
That's the key, isn't it? That's the big question. I think I never had any desire to be, any particular desire beyond all of our sort of like, oh, it'd be fun to be famous. I never actually planned on fame. I wasn't pursuing fame. I just literally wanted to make a living acting. And so to a certain extent that kept me grounded. It made it easier to be, I was very ambitious, but I wasn't particularly competitive. And I think that that's a great, at least it's a balance that works for me. And so I was able to create support groups of people, even people who were my same acting type, people who would go out for the same things, because I was genuinely happy for them when they got gigs. And yes, if people were growing and I wasn't, and I would try to figure out, well, what can I do? Because this can happen. Why can't it happen for me? But the difference was I wasn't thinking that his or her success meant that I couldn't have it. It wasn't a zero-sum game, So I guess being as ambitious as possible, but not as toxically competitive as this business can sometimes make us. Creating a support group, having parents who, bless them, didn't freak out when I was 35 and barely making any money. And having my wife and I think my wife's outlook on life and what success meant was similar to mine. She didn't go for any of the trappings that would have made me feel much less than successful for a long time. So I got lucky. I got lucky in the person who said yes when I asked her to marry me, and I got lucky with my parents and my friends. So yeah, I guess that's the big thing, because I had a lot of dry spells. Yeah,
that comes with that career oftentimes.
Yeah.
If we can talk about your dad, former Oregon congressman, you grew up around politics, split your time between Oregon and Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. He's doing well, as is your mom, and they're living in Portland and healthy, I hope.
Yeah, they're doing great. They live in Portland. They had been in Ashland for a while, and then they were in Bozeman, Montana, living near my sister when my nieces were growing up. They're older now, so they moved back to Portland, and they're healthy. I've been Zooming with them. Zoom. I didn't even know what Zoom was 2 months ago. And my dad actually published a memoir about his time in politics called Catch and Release. If I can shill for him here for a second, I can plug. It's a wonderful read. Anybody who likes politics, it's a fascinating time. Most of it's about his time in Congress from 74 to 92, back when people actually got stuff done, even if they disagreed. Seems like so long ago. But and a little bit about what shaped him as a congressman. And there's a lot about Oregon. There's a lot about civil rights. There's a lot about how Congress can work and how government can work. It's great. It's great for memoir fans. It's great for Oregon history buffs. And Catch and Release. It's Oregon State University Press.
Love it.
He was supposed to be here this week. Doing a reading at the Strand bookstore here in Manhattan, and I was going to be interviewing him on the stage, and it was going to be a great father-son moment, and I'm sure he would have given me all kinds of, we would have given each other all kinds of, but we're great buddies, and I regret that. But anyway, they're doing well.
Well, hopefully that is an event that is just not canceled, but postponed and can take place at some point in the future. They must be so proud of you.
Well, I tell them they are, or that they should be. No, they're great. They've always been so supportive. They're truly, and my sister Stacy, who lives in Montana, she's great and supportive as well. So
awesome. Well, Kelly Aucoin, thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe, stay sane through all of this, and I truly hope the entertainment industry gets back up and working again, because at some point we're all gonna still need things to watch and take our mind off things.
Yeah, your lips to God's ears. Me too. Yeah, thank you. I love your show. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. I'd appreciate you joining me for this episode of That Expert Show. Boy, he was good. We will be creating a tip sheet, just kind of summarizing the different points that he covered. Maybe a good share with somebody who you know that wants to get into the theater world, get into the entertainment industry. He had some solid advice there for people in all different ways. We post our tip sheets and our previous episodes on thatexpertshow.com. We also put our episodes on our YouTube channel, and we kick it back out as a podcast on Apple iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, all those good places. Hey, I love hearing from you. I love getting your suggestions on who you want me to interview and the topics you want me to cover. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just look for Anna Canzano and keep the conversation going, because it really is called That Expert Show, and it is where you help run the show.